This is a Film Stories original podcast.
Prescription products require completion of an online medication consultation with an independent healthcare provider through the LifeMD platform and are only available if prescribed. Subscription required. Individual results may vary. Additional restrictions apply at lifemd.com. Read all warnings before using GLP-1s. Side effects may include a risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Do not use GLP-1s if you or your family have a history of thyroid cancer.
If you've struggled for years to lose weight and have given up hope, did you know you can now access GLP-1 prescription medications through LifeMD? LifeMD is now offering eligible patients online access to GLP-1s, the breakthrough prescription medication that can help you lose body fat and weight. Listen to what people are saying.
You just take your shot. It doesn't feel like you're on a diet. What I wasn't expecting it to do was to shut off the food noise. This was life-altering, and if I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it.
And here's the best part. Your insurance may cover 100% of the cost of your medication. So go to trylifemd.com to have your eligibility checked right now. Get started today at trylifemd.com. That's trylifemd.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Carter, creator of The X-Files, and you're listening to The X-Cast.
Welcome back, everybody, to The X-Cast. The truth is in here. I'm your host, Tony Black, and I'm joined for our final day of My Struggle coverage in our Season 10 coverage throughout February by Tanya Hernandez once again.
Hello once again in the final stretch of the last of My Struggle.
of My Struggle, although you will be back for My Struggle 2 at the end of the series.
Yep.
So, you get two struggles at the price of one. Aren't you lucky?
I like it. I like it.
Before then, we are today going to focus on what, in inverted commas, you could term the Roswell Incident that features throughout this episode, although it's not quite Roswell, but we'll get into that in a minute. Before then, we have a little bit of listener feedback on the episode, and this one comes from Clarence Moy at CH Moy, who is later on going to be actually on the X-Cast in a couple of months, talking about some episodes, and he says he wasn't a fan of My Struggle, but then he says he's never been a fan of the mythology eps, but he loved the humanity of Founder's mutation, especially the sequences with William. So this is the thing. I think that could be another thing with My Struggle, in that the people who, not to do too much of a bad pun, but struggled with it,
right,
are the people who maybe didn't enjoy the mythology as much, and they prefer the standalones.
Yeah, I know of a couple of people that that tend to not like the mythology too much. Understandably, it did get a bit jumbled towards the end and confusing, unfortunately, because of other things outside of just filming that affected the writing. And I can understand that. And some people just like the idea of just having the mini monster movie of the week. So definitely those people that enjoyed the more monster of the week episodes instead of the mythology, I can see why they didn't like My Struggle too much, which is, unfortunate, but the show is based in the mythology. That is the backbone of the show. So it's gotta be there. You can't not have it, because if you just have the monster of the week, it just doesn't work all the time. And the biggest example obviously was I Want to Believe, because as much as people said, why does the movie have to be a mythology? We see the example of what happens when you have one mythology and one not. And, the mythology one worked better than the monster of the week one. In terms of a movie format, I think you have to go mythology, and because that's the basis of the entire show. That's the whole reason the show exists. And, the thing with Founder's mutation, obviously, is supposed to be monster of the week. But the brilliant thing is, if you really watch it again, it's a mythology episode, because it relates directly into the mythology. Just, not with the Smoky Man featured in it. You know what I mean? Type of thing. Or aliens featured in it, per se. Yeah. So, I understand that that sentiment. I can respect it. There's people out there that just only like the X-Files when it was a Monster of the Week episode. But, we're going to get both.
Well, this is it. And perhaps people like Clarence might enjoy this mini-series more.
Right.
Because it manages to fuse the two together a lot more organically, So maybe that could be one of the reasons that, he preferred Founder's mutation, because it did have a nice balance, and, it was a stronger piece of work altogether, in many respects. Yeah, I hope you continue to enjoy it anyway.
I hope so too.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. And as I've said before, please do send in any feedback on Twitter or on Facebook, or email at thexfcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think about my struggle. Even though we're not covering it beyond this, we'll still read out your emails and discuss it. So, yeah, keep us posted. So, we're going to talk today about not so much a character this time, but we're going to talk about the incident that runs through this episode, because what my struggle has is throughout dotted several flashbacks to what, on the face of it, seems to be the Roswell Incident, which is obviously the infamous real-life apparent UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico, that happened in 1947, and which has been variously sometimes the root cause of the alien mythology in the X-Files, sometimes a smokescreen. Like in real life, Roswell was claimed to be a weather balloon.
Right.
Whether or not that's true still is in the, the realms of conspiracy and, unknown history. But in the show, there have been various different interpretations. This isn't quite Roswell, though, is it?
No, it was not. It seems like it's a different crash, not in New Mexico.
It was, I think, in New Mexico, but it was in a different
location,
more north than Roswell.
Yeah, and I don't know. It just didn't seem. I don't know how to explain it, but the way they've always framed Roswell seems, like they got everything out and stuff like that. And in this one, it seemed like they're like, okay, they bring this doctor, which is weird. Why did they bring a medical professional out to this crash? And they find this being, and, the man in black immediately just shoots him. And the guy's like, well, why did you bring me out here? You know what I mean? And he takes the body off and stuff like that. So it seems like this crash had the things that happened after were completely different than what the Roswell crash happened. And apparently this crash leads into the genesis of the human experimentation with the alien DNA part of this, giant conspiracy. Whereas I think the Roswell crash kind of was supposed to be more of leading into like the partnership between the aliens and the humans, according to that original conspiracy.
There's several things that track with this, though, in that if we go back to season 1, when Deep Throat's talking about the deal that was made when in 1947 there was a crashed saucer and the EBE was killed, and then the deal was made between the nations to actually kill any EBE that was found. This tracks with that, in that, whether or not it was the fact it wasn't exactly Roswell, and Roswell seems to have been the cover-up for the actual crash.
Right.
The whole idea of what Deep Throat originally said, which was that they killed this creature, and that led to this international agreement, it seems to be true, and this seems to back up that idea that they just slaughtered this alien. The other question is, if the rest of it is true, the whole thing with the syndicate and the aliens who turn up in the 70s did them killing this alien crash cause the whole thing to kick off? Did the aliens, when they found out their pilot was dead, decide, right, well, this is it now, we're coming for you?
Right. We were on a mission of peace, and
maybe
this is what you did. Because that's what I don't know where I just heard that, but I think it was in the episode in the beginning, or at least I forgot who says it, but I could have sworn I heard someone say on originally a mission of peace, and something happened, and that's why they crashed, because they were coming to, warn us about, basically similar to like a day the Earth stood still type of thing, where they've been watching us and they see where we were going, so they wanted to come and speak to us and warn us of what could be if we continue on that path. And something happened, and he ended up crashing instead of just landing. I forgot who says it in the episode, but it's interesting if that was what the original intent of that being coming to the planet was for, and us, or that man in black, killing him in cold blood, essentially, instead of offering aid to him, kind of sets off the whole, well, now we're just going to invade you type of
Yeah.
thing. That would be interesting if
It would be.
that's what they're alluding to, that originally it wasn't going to be like that. Like, that wasn't their original intention.
Well, I mean, but it also tracks to the central ideas going on that men are the true enemy, you know,
Right.
and the whole idea that whether or not it triggered, you know, the alien conspiracy itself, you have the fact that these men gunned down an innocent creature who was clearly injured and
Right.
crashed, and you know, the doctor who ends up being Mulder's informant when he's very old later on in the present, he's the one who says that we can't kill it. We need to study it. We need to, you know, try and communicate. And you've
Right.
got that one human voice who is got some compassion and logic, but the military force is like, no, kill it, right? We don't know what it is, kill it.
Right.
And it's that whole idea of, it does add the weight to the new conspiracy that humans are the real enemy, but a lot of it does track with the established mythology that we know. The alien bled black oil.
Right.
The alien looks like a grey, which in the mythology is the actual shapeshifter bounty hunters are
Right.
actually greys.
Right.
So there is a lot to this. If you go back into the original mythology, if we can believe any of that,
Right. Right.
it to me, having these flashbacks almost suggests that the real truth is not the one that we're being told now, and that there is more. It does connect back to the like with the alien replicants in season 8 and 9, connecting back to the original conspiracy. I think this all connects back to the original conspiracy, but this is just an extra little piece of it we haven't seen before.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could definitely see that. It's a little confusing and it's a little daunting to try to put them together. I hope that they do explain it a little more, and like we mentioned before, if that informant explains himself a little more, because like I mentioned, you know, even though they show him as being the compassionate one in that incident, and saying, no, we should have, you know, try to communicate with it. And he takes the body, and the guy's like, well, what are you going to do with that? You know, just leave it. And he's like, no, we're going to study it. From that compassion ends up coming out of it the experimentation. So, you know, how innocent, quote unquote, is this guy really? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, you know, when it made it seem like he had intentions of something good, it seems like from that came something even worse than one could even imagine.
It's a bit like the Oppenheimer parallel, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
It's the whole thing that he may have had good intentions, but what he possibly created was something that could lead to our destruction.
Right.
You know? And it's interesting. I hope he reappears. I mean, like I mentioned before, I mentioned the character of Kurzweil from Fight the Future before, but he reminded me a bit of Kurzweil in that he was this guy who has been there for a long time. He had some sort of moral conscience.
Right.
And he maybe is now going to Mulder. Or, you know, the question is he? Is he part of it all? Is he one of the grandmasters? You know, and is he leading Mulder to where he needs him to be?
Right.
This is what my struggle has constantly made me question as to whether or not it's a lie within a lie. And that's why it's interesting. I think they show the flashbacks, and you actually see, because they never used to do that. They never really. You might have the pre-credits flash to something in certain episodes in the old days, but you never saw it consistently throughout the episode.
Yeah.
Which suggests to me that they were showing it on purpose to make a point. I don't know. Also, the fact I think they wanted to show off the budget that they could do all that.
And they built a giant spaceship, and they had a crash,
looked amazing.
which looked awesome.
That crash was the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, when it came in, and it wasn't at night; it was like in the day.
Yeah,
you know. And if you look in the background, there's like a train.
Is there really?
Yeah, like
I didn't see that.
I don't know if it's as it's crashing, if the train is there, but you see it afterwards. Like there's a train in the valley nearby that's in the background. So, you know, then it goes to somebody saw something and stuff like that. So yeah, it was pretty awesome scene, and it just definitely was a great scene to start off with, to get back into the X-Files. I mean, what's X-Files without an alien crash? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And we get plenty of that here. We get all the opening narration from Mulder talking about the UFO sightings and everything like that. We see lots of examples. We see We see some new footage actually that they've created for the episode of UFOs flying around, things like that.
Yeah.
Like jets, helicopters chasing them.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
Yeah.
It's that kind of almost found footage kind of thing going on.
I had hoped that they would have put, because I know you asked me, did anything change from it? And I said, no, nothing changed. But I had kind of hoped, like in that scene, that they would have put, that they used in their promotional footage of that rocket that happened a couple of months ago in California. If they would have thrown that in there, and to try to, because it's real footage, like that's actual footage and something that's actually happened to us while we've been alive and that we've actually experienced. That would have been cool to add that in there, but it would have been. Yeah. But
at least we got it in the promos.
Yeah,
which is good. But it was just really a really interesting way of exploring a little bit more of that in-depth mythology, I think, really, which just added an extra layer to the episode and gave all the classic sort of 40s kind of clothes, Men in Black. And interestingly, Andrew Brooker, who's will be doing some of the other looks into season 10, made the point we were emailing furiously after the episode aired. I just emailed him and another guy with just like, oh my God, this has happened. And one of the things he said was that he wondered if the guy who was the Man in Black in the 40s looked a lot like one of the observers from Fringe.
Yeah.
And he wondered if that was a genuine little tip of the hat to a show that was very much
inspired by. Yeah, he did. Yeah. He did. I did think of that show when I saw him, and I was like, oh, okay.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah, that was pretty. That would have been pretty cool. I mean, that's definitely one of the shows that definitely spawned from the X-Files after the X-Files was off the air.
Yeah, and almost as good a show, actually, at times. Very, very good show. If you've never seen Fringe, guys, you need to get on that because it's a great show. It really becomes good.
I hope they go a little more into what happened after that crash. I just a little bit, like, because it's, like you said, it's not the Roswell one, but something, they got an alien out of it.
Yeah.
So was the Roswell one kind of like staged? Maybe Roswell was staged? I don't know. And this was the real crash?
I think the point of this is that what they're intentionally doing is showing us the beginning of whatever the conspiracy has ever been.
Right.
Whether it's what we always thought it was or whether it's what it is now, this was the beginning. Whatever came after this started with that crash. I think that was the point they're trying to make in this. And that Chris Carter's saying, this is the wellspring, this is the moment it began.
Right.
Now it might be a different truth than you expect. So it's exciting. Maybe there will be more to it, and maybe we will see another side of it in My Struggle too. So, as I say, you'll be back for that, Tanya. You can help report on that one.
Well, I look forward to it. I can't wait.
Yeah, it should be good. It's not long now. It won't be long to wait now.
I know. Don't remind me. I don't want it to be that short.
I know.
I want it to last as long as possible.
I know. We're going to try to try and drag out these next few weeks. Hopefully the Xcast will help, obviously, with these mini-sodes.
Absolutely.
Talking about, so obviously we've got Founder's Mutation we'll be talking about in the next little run of episodes. Then the what could end up being the highlight of this mini-series, Mulder and Scully meet the Weird Monster.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be a good one. I can't wait.
It's Darren Morgan writing an X-File, which is just the most amazing thing in the world.
Yeah.
So that could end up being the highlight of the series, but we'll see. Yeah. Then obviously Babylon, which we don't really know anything about. Home Again, although they may be the other way around, actually. I think it's Home Again, then Babylon. We don't really know anything about the plots for those yet.
Yeah.
And then, of course, My Struggle 2, which I know a little something about. I believe, without any spoilers, I believe it's something to do with genes.
Okay.
That's all I know about My Struggle 2. So I don't know any other plot details, but you can expect the Smoking Man to be back, I think. And one or two other characters I think people may know are on the way back. But we won't go into that yet. We'll leave some mysteries. Nice. But yeah, thank you, Tanya, for helping me go through My Struggle and get deep inside the episode and the characters.
Well, thank you.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, you really brought up some points that just my head is still spinning about. So I gotta process this.
Go and have a lie down.
Yeah, but it's been fun. I just enjoy it so much. So thank you again for the opportunity to do this. It's everything I wish I could have done back in the day. So
I know. That's why I'm doing it now, I must say. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Tanya. And you'll be back later on. We'll be back tomorrow or in a couple of days. There might be a few breaks between episodes, but we'll see how many we get done. But we'll be back in short order, and we'll start to have a few days where we look at Founder's Mutation in a bit more detail. So until then, remember everybody, trust no one.